Welcome back. This is Jeff Byers. I'm going to talk about how to animate a bouncing ball. And this will be kind of a cartoonish bouncing ball, so we'll have a lot of squash and stretch. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and the ball I want to choose is called The Ball. And I got it from Creative Crash, and you do have to register if you want to grab the ball, but I have the ball for you. So just get on Canvas and grab it. It's called The Ball under Exercise 1. What we want to do is you want to save the ball and put it in your source or your scenes folder, and go into Maya and go File, Open, and then click on the ball.ma. Open it up, and you don't want to save that. So, and it's going to tell you it's got errors reading the and there may be data loss, but don't worry, just ignore that. Go click on that and click off anywhere in the gray area. We see that we've got outliner on open, and here's the ball group. If you hold down the shift key and click on the plus sign, it'll open up and show you the whole entire ball. Now the idea is that if you're an animator, you really don't need to be going in here and looking at stuff unless you need to change something, and which we don't need to. You can see that if I did want to change something in the ball, there it is. So I wanted to show that to you in case you wanted to change the color of the ball, which you can, but I prefer you don't right now. So let's go ahead and close that back up again. Again, you can hold the shift key and open the entire hierarchy, and you can find where the actual geometry is, which is kind of fun. Alright, so let's close that back down again, click off the ball. What we're going to work with is you kind of got to get to know how the ball works. Okay, we're going to animate this part of the ball. This is the controller to move it up and down. So you'll be moving it up and down that way, animating it up and down. And we also have the squash and stretch, and mainly we're just going to be using or just controlling the top. You start messing around with the top and the bottom, you're going to get some strange results. So just focus on the top. So you can squish and pull that one. What's nice about this is that this can be rotated. Okay, and what's nice about this is what makes this rig so much better than the one I found. There's one called the Simple Ball, and or the Ultimate Ball. The thing is, you can't squash and stretch it at the same time of rotating it, and I found that really difficult to use because you're going to want to rotate this as well. So the nice thing about this is I can rotate that. So if I bounce it off the wall in at an angle, I can take the top and squash and stretch still, which is really, really pretty cool. Okay, so that's kind of nice. So you can squish it at an angle. I thought that was really neat. So I think that'll be fun to experiment with and to have fun with. All right, so let's get started. We're going to do the keyframes, the timing keyframes. That's really important first. So let's go ahead and get the timing down. What I like about this ball too is that from the side views, go ahead and go into the perspective views and orthographic views, is that it is laying right on the floor, on the ground. So what I'm going to do is, if you select one of these, you can hit the F key and it kind of focuses on that. But if we go in here, and now that we know what the controls do, I usually animate from the side, or excuse me, the front or the side view. Okay, I don't animate from the perspective view. We're going to be punching numbers in, but if you wanted to animate, you're usually going to animate from the side or the front view, because it's really hard to see if the ball is actually hitting the ground. But the nice thing is that everything's zeroed out. Okay, if you look up here at the master control, everything's zeroed out, so we know when it's hitting the floor it's going to be 0. That makes things much easier for us. Let's just go ahead and go to the perspective mode. The next thing we need to do is we need to set everything up to where we can see our graph editor as well while we're animating. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go ahead and go to Panels. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at saved layout. So let's go ahead and find the one that says perspective graph. Okay, this is not really how I like to work. You got a very small area. I'd rather have something on the left and something on the right. So let's go back to Panels, and let's go to Layouts. Let's go 2 panes side by side. There you go. That's what we're looking for. So we can give it as much room as we want right here for now. We always have that open. And let's zoom out just a little bit. Alright, so I still have my channel editor open, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that. We're going to really concentrate on the keyframes. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to find out where our settings and preferences are set at. So click on that little guy with the gear on the bottom, or you can go to Windows, Setting, Preferences, and Preferences. It goes to the same spot. It's a lot easier just to click on the little guy, running away from the gear, and it's all over. It's always on the lower right-hand side. So click on that. That'll open up this. Always set on settings. Make sure that your time is set at 24 frames per second. And then down at time slider, we want to make sure we have enough frames to play the animation. So basically, let's just set this up around, let's say 40 let's just go ahead and set 60 on that. And let's go ahead and set 60 on this. Okay. And there we go, and that's good. And then we want to make sure we set this up at 24 frames per second times 1, and we want to save that. Okay, there we go. So now we've got everything set up. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set a keyframe, and I'm just going to tell you where to put the numbers. Obviously, if you would like to play around with the numbers, that's fine with me. Again, the higher the ball is, the longer it will take to hit the floor. All right. So let's just set up some keyframes right now. I'm going to pull this up around translate Y at 9. Okay. So basically, we're going to go ahead and start setting up keyframes. So the best thing that we're going to do, the next thing we're going to do, is we're just going to have to set that keyframe. I only want to set a keyframe in the Y direction. So I'm going to right click over it, highlight the word, right click over it, and go key selected. Okay, that's going to set that frame at 9. Okay, now the rest of the keyframes, I'm just going to set the rest of them at 0. So the next one, I'm going to go ahead and move it to 7. Okay, and we're going to set the keyframe at 0. So you got to move the keyframe slider over first and hit enter for 0. Now that means it goes from up position down to the down position. Let's go ahead and select the name and right click over it and key select it. If you don't, you can't really key this way. You have to select, highlight the name, right click over it, and key select it. Alright, so we're going to do the rest of the keyframes and come back and then raise it. So the next one is going to be 12. Okay, so I'm not going to move it up. I'm just going to go right over here and key selected. I'm going to move over to 17. Okay, and then right click over it and key selected. So you can see I'm just going right down the list. I've already got my timing down, and I drew it all out. And these are the keyframes that I have. Okay, I'm going to go from 21 to 25. As you can see, we got to give it the same amount of time for the up and down, but then it loses momentum and energy, so each consecutive bounce gets less and less. So the next one will be 25. Let's keyframe that. And the next one will be 28. We'll keyframe that. You can see it's getting less and less. Keyframe that. 31. Okay, and keyframe that. And then 34. Keyframe that. Whoops. Click on it and then keyframe that. And then the next one's 36. Okay, keyframe that. And then we've got 38. Okay, and then we'll keyframe that. And a couple more. We've got 40. Now we're getting really close. It's going to be bouncing very quickly now at the very bottom. And then we've got 41. Now it's one frame at a time, just basically one frame at a time. And then it'll finally rest at 42. There we go. Okay. So, major keyframes again. We got 1, 7, 12, 17, 21, 25, 28, 31, 34, 36, 38, 40, 41, 42. Alright, so what we're going to do is we know that basically up on 1, down on 7, up on 12. Okay, so we're going to go up on 12. So 12, we're going to go in here and change that to 6. Okay, and we're going to right click over that and key select. Now we're going to skip 17 and go to 21, and we're going to change that to 3. So I type in 3, hit enter, and click on translate Y, and we've got to keyframe that, and we're going to go to key selected. The neat thing here too as well is we can look at some of these things here. We can cut the key, we can copy the key, we can paste the key, which is really, really cool. We can do all kinds of really cool stuff here. As we go along, we're going to go ahead and do all that stuff. You have a grease pencil as well, and you can kind of write notes to yourself or kind of show where it's going to bounce, which is kind of fun, and we'll have fun with that later. But right now it's just up and down. Okay, so select the, I gotta make sure I got that selected. So 21 we've got as an up, and it's up, and we've got it keyframed, I believe. Let's right click on it and right click over it and key selected. And then 28 we've got 25, we don't need to do anything because that's down, and then up we go with 28. 28's 1.5. Okay, there we go. Alright, and hit enter, and then right click over this and key selected, so make sure it's highlighted. We've got 31 down, and we've got 34 up, and 34 is going to be, we're breaking it in half now. Okay, so the power is going to be like something like 0.75. Okay, there we go, and highlight that and keyframe that. And then 38, we're going to miss 36, and 38 is going to be going up 0.35. Alright, so type in 0.35, hit enter, highlight the word, and key select. And 40 is down, and then 41 is up, and this is very, very small amounts, 0.15, barely see it, and key select. Alright, so there we go. Let's take a look at what we have so far. Alright, cool. I really don't want it repeating. Okay, so I'm going to stop it, and you can see over here we've got control. It does continuous loop. Okay, it'll play it once. Okay, and there's one that'll be an oscillating loop. Okay, so let's just go ahead and make sure we just play it once. So if I play it, it plays one time. Okay, and then we can go back with the arrow. So I can start from the beginning with the playhead and play it again. There we go. Awesome. So we've got the basic bounce, the timing down. If you don't like the timing, there's lots of things you can do. Now, of course, it looks really funny. It looks like it's being pushed up and down. So that is not really something we want to keep. So we need to add another item. We've got timing. Now we got to add weight. So we'll do that in the next video.